Hi everyone, it's Ms. Bracco. Today we're looking at Module 2, Lessons 9 and 10, Sequencing Rotations and Rigid Transformations. Don't forget to set up your notebook appropriately. And let's start with our title. So we are still in Module 2, and we're going to look at Lesson 9. Today's notes are a little quick. They're pretty abbreviated, mostly because the sequencing rotations section of your text is very similar to sequencing reflections and sequencing translations. Basically, we're doing more than one transformation on a particular object. So the basic concepts here that we'll go over again is that we preserve the length of line segments and we preserve angle measure, right? So these are those properties that we've been talking about since lesson 1 in terms of just regular old transformations. But a sequence of transformations, especially in rotations, really shows us that we have more than one rotation occurring. So first I rotate around this one point 180 degrees, and then I rotate around a second point 180 degrees. But I've got some distance here, and I originally started with shape P, and then I transformed to P prime, and then again to P double prime. So just like in our sequences of reflections, order does matter. So if I had rotated the original triangle around my second center first, or around a different center, I would end up with a different result. And we're going to experiment with this tomorrow to really get a good idea of why the order matters when we have a sequence of rotations. So let's take a look at how we combine translations, reflections, and rotations into a sequence of basic rigid motions. That's what lesson 10 is going to be about, and I want to show you what that looks like. So I found this example online and I wanted to share it with you. We're basically going to take the letter H and we're going to think about what sequence of basic rigid motions maps the left hand letter H exactly onto the right hand side. So this is a great little animation because first it's going to show us which one we're moving. So the H that is in red is the one that we're going to move. And here's some strategies on how to do that. So we're drawing a straight line, which is going to be our vector, from the lower right hand corner of the left H to the upper left hand corner of the other H. Because basically what we're doing here is lining up our corners. That way we can rotate 90 degrees and then complete our transformation with a reflection across the top of H. So I thought this was a really cool transformation because it shows you how you could take one shape and use a sequence of transformations to map it exactly onto another one. Remember how we talked about how transformations are really useful for proving whether or not two shapes are identical? Here's where we're getting to that point. So again, we slid it along the vector, rotated 90 degrees, and now we're reflecting over that horizontal line. Pretty cool. So as we move into lesson 10, let's make sure that we update our caption here, Module 2, Lesson 10, and this is a sequence of basic rigid motions. Similar to the H that we just saw, right? We used translation, we used a rotation, we used a reflection. And the reminder is that a rigid motion is a type of transformation. And the three that we've learned so far are translations, rotations, and reflections. So the main idea in sequencing transformations is to remember that if we pay attention to the order that we're performing our transformations in, we can perform transformations in a sequence to make unique movements on a grid, and we can undo those movements. So really we can get from a starting point to an ending point and then back to where we began by using the proper sequence and the proper order for our transformations. So that's really important to remember.